guys, what's up? It's your favorite girl here, Bex21. Okay, y'all already know what it is. We're here on my health channel, bringing it back. You know, y'all know the deal. Call me Becca, Rebecca, whatever, just not Beck. Okay, why? Because it's ugly and I don't be out here everybody. Okay, that's why I don't like everybody keep wanting to ask why. Bitch, just Google it. But anyway, today I'm coming to you bright light. You know, you just gotta bring some to the collective. Today I'm really excited. We are gonna make vegan Cubano. Maybe I'm more excited than you. I don't know, baby. But here we are. We finna get to it. We finna get it down. I'm super excited for this. So I really hope that you guys are gonna enjoy this. I know I am. A little history. I've never had a regular Cubano. So I have to be honest with y'all. You know, I've never been into Miami. I didn't know until I tried a vegan Cubano a while ago. And I have, you know, I watch the cooking shows, baby. That's how I learned how to cook, because I watched the cooking shows, and since 9, nobody wanted to get up with my ass when I was ready and I was hungry. So I just learned to cook myself. So from 9 up, I've been cooking myself, experimenting, okay? Being high and experimenting, baby, that's the best time. But anyway, I'm gonna make a vegan Cubano today, kind of in the style of Bobby Flay, the way that he makes his. Not exactly, but like obviously because it's vegan. But you have to start this early. So it's like 11, depending on when you're gonna cook it, because things have to marinate and cook for a little bit of time, unfortunately, based on the jackfruit that we're gonna use. So I just want that to be known. This recipe does require some time, but it is going to be worth it. And I know it's gonna be like, I could okay, but shout out to Lobo Cuban food. Okay, that's where I've learned, and that's the first time I've had the Cuban sandwich, and it's so good. So we're gonna try and emulate some of those flavors and make a vegan Cubano. So if you're interested, then keep on watching. Okay, before I go over my ingredients right here, I just want to tell you guys that not everything is mandatory, but it's highly recommended. And this is one of the recipes you could play around with. So if you know how to cook and all that, this is something that you can just enjoy and kind of do what you want. But for the first portion of cooking that I'm going to show you, you have to do that, okay? But after that, you know, we could just mix around and have fun. I'm going to show you guys what is mandatory and what you kind of don't need, okay? So the first thing is jackfruit. Now this is mandatory, okay? You can use the store-bought vegan lunch meat, but you're not going to like the sandwich, okay? If you want something to taste really authentic, I suggest you get you jackfruit. I love this jackfruit from Trader Joe's. It's super good value and the cans are huge, okay? I put these in my emergency kit, child. Okay, so we're gonna need some bouillon. Again, my favorite bouillon. I'm gonna use both because a Cubano usually is pork, right? We don't have no pork substitutes like that. So I'm gonna use both. I know when I usually use both, it gives more of a meaty flavor, like it gives a heightened flavor. So I'm gonna use both of these. We're gonna need some garlic. Yes, fresh garlic is best, okay? But this is what I got and this is what we're gonna use. You can also sub this out for garlic powder if that's what you got. We're gonna need some pink Himalayan salt, okay? You can use sea salt or garlic salt, but for this one particularly, I am wanting the pink Himalayan. You're going to need mustard, okay? You can't skip this. This is something you need, all right? You have to have it, because what is a Cubano without mustard? So I'm not gonna use this mustard, okay? I'm gonna use the stone ground mustard. You know, you want something more higher quality to give in more flavor. So I mean, you could stone ground your own mustard if that's what you want. Did I say mushroom, child? Y'all know what I meant. But you definitely want something kind of higher quality because it's gonna bring those flavors together more. Y'all, I really forgot pickles. Like, that is #1. I show you the pickles later on, but you really have to have pickles, okay? That's my bad. Again, one of my favorite seasonings, the 21 Salute by Trader Joe's. I'm gonna add this in. If you have like a no salt seasoning, like that's what you could sub this one out for. We're gonna need pepper. Of course, you need pepper. Of course, I recommend freshly ground, but use what you got, baby. Now this is extra, this is bay leaves. I'm going to add this in when I start cooking the meat just to give it more of a flavor, okay? So this is not necessary, but for me it's necessary. You understand what I'm saying? Now cumin, you can't miss this. You need this. You have to have cumin, all right? So I don't know, if you ain't got this, baby, I don't know what to tell you. You need to go to the store. Cumin is very necessary for the Cubano, okay? Oregano leaves, this is also another necessary thing. A lot of Cuban cooking requires oregano, so it's one of the staples. So we're gonna add oregano leaves in there. Cheese, you can't miss this. You need the cheese on the sandwich, baby. So I don't know which one particularly I'm gonna use, but for the flavor profile of what I'm thinking, this one, the smoked Gouda, is probably gonna be better than the cheddar slices. So I don't know, as I try the jackfruit, that will determine which cheese I'm using. But these are some of my favorite cheeses if you guys are trying to transition or want an alternative. These ones are super great. So we need paprika. This is mandatory as well. You can't miss this, okay? And we have the Spanish style. Doesn't have to be this, but you definitely need some paprika, okay? Paprika. Now we need some bread, duh. I definitely recommend you guys get a loaf. This one was $2.99 from Whole Foods, okay? It only has wheat, so if you're trying to do gluten-free, then you need to find a gluten-free bread that's a loaf like this, which may be a little hard for you, but you definitely need it, baby. You have to. Like, you gotta have a loaf of bread to make a authentic Cubano, okay? This is only $3. This is gonna make about 2 sandwiches, okay? And then you cut them in half. That's good enough, okay? You don't need any more, okay? This is just extra, me being extra, trying to add more flavor. Not necessary, but again, this is a staple in the kitchen for me, okay? I have to have this in my cabinet. This is very good. It tastes like regular chicken broth. It's kind of scary that it's marketed as vegan because it really tastes like the real thing, but we're just gonna use this to try and add in some meaty flavor, okay? Because we still want that flavor, just vegan, get it? And lastly, I'm gonna add some liquid smoke. And I know, just hear me out, okay? So when you use liquid smoke in a smaller concentrated form, it tastes more meaty and less smoky, okay? So we are going to just use a tiny bit at a time. And when I mean a tiny bit, I mean like a drop, okay? Very imperative that we're doing that, okay? So it will just add meatiness. That's all we want. We just want it to taste like meat, bitch. So that's what we're gonna do. But this is not necessary, but it's up to you, okay? So these are all the ingredients. We're gonna get started first. All you need is the jackfruit for the first portion and some water. Okay, so let me explain this a little bit before so we could understand. So for the jackfruit, as you see, it says in brine. When you eat jackfruit or cook it straight out of the can or whatever, it has a nasty kind of sweet taste to it, right? It's not plain, you know, where you can add the flavor. And so what we do is strain out all the brine and we're gonna add it to boiling water. Well, it's gonna boil, okay? Ooh, I probably should have put these in before I put the water, but you know, do as I say, not as I do, baby. So what boiling the jackfruit does, it just takes out that flavor. It just takes out that nasty flavor. It doesn't cook it to the point of where you can't add more flavor or anything like that. But this is the key secret to cooking jackfruit. So you are welcome. Again, you know I just be throwing in the secrets to help you guys with your vegan cooking. So we're actually going to leave these jackfruit on the stove for an hour, okay? Boiling warm, like not like popping boiling, but just like a nice little boil going. And we're gonna leave this on for an hour. After that hour, we're gonna strain it and we're gonna do it again. And then after that hour, we're gonna strain it and do it one more time. And I know it sounds a little like repetitive or like damn, but this is the best way to cook jackfruit. Trust me, like I've done it multiple times. I did it on the 2-hour mark and it didn't quite take the brine out yet. So this is the best way. So we'll be able to start cooking in 3 hours, but it'll be very quick after that 3 hours, okay? So trust me, baby, I got y'all, okay? So I'll be back when we strain this after an hour. Okay, so it's been an hour. This is the boiling I was talking about. So now we're gonna go ahead and pour it out over the stove, or we're gonna pour it out over the sink, and then we're gonna rinse it, okay? And then we're gonna literally put it back on the stove in some new water, boil it for another hour, okay? Make sure that you refill your pot with water, of course, and kind of like rinse it out a little just because we don't want, you know, the brine to come back in here. Okay, so now we're just literally rinsing this off. You want to make sure you have clean hands for this process because you're kind of going to be rubbing it. If you use cold water, they won't be too hot for your hands, okay? I'm not gonna take out the bulbs either because that's gonna add some texture to the meat. If you've ever had pork in real life, you'll know that it has like, this kind of has a bite to it. And here we go. We want to make sure we're getting every freaking piece. You don't have to break apart each piece either. It's okay if it's whole. We're gonna put this back on the stove for another hour and come back and do the same thing. So here we are again at the 2-hour boil mark. So I'm now gonna do the same process I just did. Pour it out, rinse it, fill this with water again, and then I'm gonna go ahead and rinse it the 3rd time. And I know, again, this process is a little like tedious, but it makes the jackfruit taste better to where it's not nasty tasting. You know what I mean? It doesn't have that brine flavor. So this is your simple thing. I'm gonna do the 3rd one off camera because obviously you guys get the point by now, and I'm gonna go ahead and come back once we actually start seasoning the jackfruit and all of that and cook it on the stove. Okay, so I just finished the 3rd rinse now. I already rinsed it. I'm gonna leave these bulbs again to give it some texture, but we kind of want to squeeze out the liquid. I like to like press it and then the liquid kind of strains out. You don't want your jackfruit to be mushy. Like if you leave the water in, that's what happens. You guys could also use like a towel that doesn't have any fuzz, of course, and just press out the water. You see all that? So I'm gonna give you an example. So like here, you see all that water that it's soaking in? I mean, you could reuse this, but that's ghetto. So I'm gonna do this a couple of times. So it's mostly dry. It doesn't have to be all the way, but we want it mostly dry in the process. This is kind of what you want your jackfruit to look like. At this point, you can make jackfruit ribs, tacos, essentially anything that you want. Like I said, we're making Cubanos today, or Cubanos today, so. Okay, so here we are. We're about to cook. Get our handy dandy grapeseed oil in our pan. You want a good amount because you kind of want to fry it. You want some crisp. Texture is perfect for this. So I know I didn't tell you guys this in the beginning, but I'm gonna use fresh onion right here just to start building a flavor profile. And this is literally like 1/4 of an onion. Now we have our minced garlic or regular garlic, whatever you got, baby. That's what we're gonna use. That's about 3 tablespoons of garlic. Make sure you stir it up. Make sure you're stirring this up, and we want to stir it till the onions kind of start sweating a little bit, okay? Okay, so now that the onions are sweating, we're gonna throw in one of these not beef bouillon, and I'm also gonna throw in a not chicken bouillon. What this kind of does is create a roux, so the flavor becomes a lot stronger than if you were to just throw it in with the meat. And we want this on a medium-high heat. So now we're gonna take the jackfruit, and as you see, after you boil it, it becomes like a different texture. It is kind of pork-like, like shredded pork, but we're just gonna scrape that in. We want it to get a little crispy. I'm noticing my jackfruit is sticking just a little bit, so I'm gonna go ahead and add a little more grapeseed oil in. Then just let that kind of crisp up. You hear that? Exactly, baby. That's what we want. Pork is greasy anyway, so if we're trying to emulate that, you kind of want to keep it along the same lines, you know? Now this isn't gonna get like real crispy like that. You might have a few pieces that are crispy, but you know, don't expect the world, baby. That's what I'm saying. I'm gonna actually start seasoning this now. So I'm gonna add in that 21 salute. We're gonna add in some oregano. Again, this is one of the key components to Cuban cooking. Some cumin, okay? Very important. Be careful though, because cumin's super spicy. Well, not spicy, but it's strong. I'm gonna add about 1.5 tablespoons. And now let's stir it in so we make sure it doesn't stick. Got some spillage. I'm gonna add a little more oil again because this jackfruit is sucking it up. A little more oil adds 1/2 cup. Okay, so now I'm gonna add some paprika. About 1 tablespoon. 2 tablespoons of fresh cracked pepper. See, now we're seeing some color, baby. And I'm gonna add a little bit of pink Himalayan salt, about 1 tablespoon, okay? So I'm gonna stir this, mix this in, and I'll be right back. Okay, so now we're gonna add a little bit of this chicken broth, or no chicken broth, I should say. Oh, shit, don't do that and spill it like I do. So I'm just gonna add probably about 1/2 cup to 1/4 of a cup. We don't wanna add too much of that in there. Just enough to give it a little body. Now, be careful. I warned you, like on Shrek. I warned you. Seriously, if you guys are not careful with this, it's gonna taste like a barbecue Cubano. You literally have like a little bit of drops. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pour it in the cap, okay? Now, I'm gonna drop it like a little bit. Boom. 2 times, little drops. And then we're just gonna mix this all together. And it might smell, like the air might smell like liquid smoke, but your food won't smell like that. So we're just gonna mix it in, okay? I'm gonna actually add a bay leaf in, or 2, or 4. Just kind of stir it in for some flavor, okay? But we're not gonna eat the bay leaf. So I'm gonna let this kind of simmer together for about, ooh, you see that oil grease right there? Yes, baby. Look like we on a taco truck, okay? So we're gonna let this simmer for about 5 minutes on a medium low, more like a low medium, okay? More low than medium. If for those of you guys who a little slow. I'm gonna clean up while I'm doing this, and yeah, so flatten it out. And I'm just gonna let it go like that. Okay guys, so the meat is essentially done now. I added a couple things, but let me tell you what I added. So I added about a tablespoon more paprika, and that has a little bit of a spice to it, so it just hits you like bam, you know, at the end. I added a little bit of liquid amino, and when I mean a little, like a tablespoon or less, just to kind of hit it, you know. What's that? Hit it. Oh, I can't do that stuff on YouTube because, you know, they love to restrict somebody. Anyway, I added more cumin, about a teaspoon of it. And then I actually added some allspice. I added about a little less than a tablespoon. That actually kind of made it hit, like more than I thought. So I know I didn't add those 2 on the ingredients list, but you know, sometimes you gotta cook as you go and just kind of see what's going on. So now I do like the quote-unquote greasiness, like the oiliness of this, because it's really representing pork. But now we're gonna go ahead and start working on the bread and the cheese. I can't believe I forgot this key ingredient in the beginning, but I'll just write it in. You're gonna need pickles, duh. Like, who makes a Cubana without pickles? We're gonna build our sandwich. So I'm gonna use the mustard on the bread. And just throw it on there, okay? Don't be shy. I saw a recipe with this for mayonnaise, and I'm like, how about let's say, like, let's act like we did, but like, let's not do that. So instead of spreading, I just like to, you know, pick it up, squeeze it, and now it's spread. So we're gonna take our Gouda cheese slices and place them on our sandwich. Like so, like so, like that. Now Cubanos are known for being pretty cheesy, so I'm actually gonna put 3 slices per side because we want to mix it up. But before we do that, I'm gonna actually throw the pickle on the sandwich. You could put this on the underside, it doesn't really matter. We're gonna throw the pickles on like so, like that. Okay, now we're gonna put the cheese, so then that way nothing slides around. We got it. Now we're gonna take our jackfruit and plop it right on your sandwich. I mean, you want to fill the sandwich, don't be shy, like, oh well, you know, make sure it's filled, baby. And now we're just going to smash that like that. So for those of you guys who know what it is, you're probably like, so what's going on? I'm going to smash it a little, and I'm gonna put a pan on top. Okay, so are we seeing this? I'm gonna cook it like this. So I'm gonna add a candle actually. So I'm gonna just squish it here. I don't have a panini press or anything like that, so candles are a safe bet for the most part. Okay, don't do what I do, you know, figure it out. Get you a real panini press. But yeah, I'm just gonna let the sandwich cook down like this for a little bit, just to help toast the bread. This will kind of help melt the cheese, and then I can throw it in the broiler, which will toast it out a little bit more and then melt the rest of the cheese. So I'll probably say approximately 3 minutes on each side. This should definitely help flatten your sandwich up. Okay, so I removed it. As you can see, the sandwich is flattening, the cheese is melting. I'm gonna just take a little bit of this excess meat off just to make it a little easier on myself later. And I'm gonna flip the sandwich. Boom, yeah, beautiful, look at that. Now again, about 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes on this side. You know, Virgos, and I'm Virgo, Sun, Aquarius, Moon, okay? Leo rising, if we're talking sidereal. So we're innovators, baby, so, you know, that's how you come up with that method. But this is dangerous. So don't do this. This is just what I do, okay? Okay, so now we're gonna take this off here. I'm gonna grab my sandwich and I'm gonna put it on parchment paper. So I took my sandwich off of the heat, put it on parchment paper, you know, face down. The other side's a little more toasty, so I don't want that to get too toasty. And I'm just gonna put it in the oven now on a lower setting because the cheese is mostly warm and I just want the cheese to melt off just a little more. So we're gonna do that real quick. Okay, here's this sandwich out the oven. I ended up putting it on about 250 to kind of melt the cheese. It wasn't really working, so I broiled it for a couple of minutes and then I just turned off the broiler and let it sit in the oven. So now that the cheese is pretty melted for the most part. I mean, it's vegan cheese, so you get what you get, okay? Whew. It's hot, baby, it's hot. Now for you guys, you kind of need to let your sandwich rest, but you know, it's lunchtime, bitch. We ain't got time for resting. And here we are. Here is the vegan Cubano, or Cubano, whatever. And yes, I use the back of a plate, okay, to take the video and all that. And I don't have any decorative plates. I need to get one. But here's the sandwich. I'm gonna try it on camera. I don't want no frauds. We ready? We ready? Okay. It's a lot, but it's pretty good. I actually prefer more mustard in my sandwich, but it's good. It tastes like a lunch style, dinner style Cubano. Has a meaty texture to it. There's that grease that comes through to make you feel like you're eating real meat. I mean, of course, it's jackfruit, like, but it makes you like feel like that. And the pickles do add a like fresh touch. All I'm gonna say is you're welcome again for this one. There you go. You had to wait for the pop to see if it was really that good. Anyway, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoy. Make the recipe. Make sure you guys tag me either in my Instagram because health or my Bex_21. I will see you guys later. I love you. Peace.